not sure if you I don't know if you really call it a motif exactly, but you have something here between your it's like a phrase, right? Bass chord with the melody. That's kind of a phrase, and kind of inverts that phrase, that kind of that motif, I guess. A very small kind of micro motif, but and that sounds kind of cool. So instead, you get this: you get bass chord with the melody, bass chord with melody, same, same, and then chord with melody, followed by the bass, which is that low E, which sounds really cool. All right. Any questions about any of that so far? All right. Yeah, big time. It's a shame it only really works in that place, unless you did it like, maybe you did some other variation. This would be a weird one. I'm just doing it as though we're a G major, G altered of the same thing, but with the low E. In which case it gives you a minor major 7. You got the 3rd on top, the 5th on the A string, a flat 5. This sounds like a Holdsworth chord I think I've heard. That sounds like a song I know. And then the major 7 in the B string. So you could find some other places for it, but that low E string is kind of what really makes it. You couldn't do it with an open A string because then you'd lose the note you got there. But anyway, so after that walk up, where then he inverts his little motif between having bass chord to chord bass, here's like a long space before we get the next part that's like where the melody goes. That's how the melody goes after that. And I seem to find the happiness I feel. I think it's. And I seem to find the happiness I feel. The lyrics are something like that, and that's the melody. So, what he does here is he takes a break between this chord, takes a break, and then plays the, that melody. And what he does in the break is he just shreds for a minute, Joe Pass style. So he plays a little lead there, which I think is the first time so far in this song we've added that element, right? We had the idea of a melody. We had the idea of the harmony, which is the chords. Then we had the idea of breaking the harmony up, breaking the melody and the harmony up in a way that they have melody and harmony separate, then putting them together and breaking the harmony up into pieces so you have more motion. And then the lowest part of the harmony, breaking it up, which then you think of it as the bass. And so then instead of thinking about it as one note of the harmony, you think about the bass line and kind of creating rhythmic separation, kind of like interest between the bass line and the harmony. And that seemed like everything. And then there's one other thing we're missing, which is like, improvisation in the sense of like a lead solo, like what if I went like this? And there's a space that's just waiting, and I'm not filling it up by moving chords. I don't have any more melody to fill it up between the next one. We have a couple beats here to wait, and a saxophone plays, some line, except Joe Pass solo guitar, so he played a line. And I'll walk you through the line he plays. It's not it's kind of interesting actually, but it's not like you could fill any line in here, It's less important than the melody. Anyway, so what he does though in this line, he plays the 13th fret on the high E string, then 12th and 10th, and then 9th. So we have like a halftone, whole tone thing going on here. Over the E altered chord, right? So rather than using, it seems that the idea here is a dominant diminished scale, right? And you familiar with that already? All right, cool. So yeah, we got this dominant diminished thing here. And then he continues, this time 12th fret, 10th fret, 9th fret. And that's really weird, right? Because it's got a 5th, like I guess dominant diminished does. Then we go to our 4th and the 3rd. And part of me wonders if he's thinking like, we got our 5th, And if we were going down the scale, we would have our we would skip over that fourth. So I'm kind of thinking in his mind, like I think he's switching, you know, where he's having this idea. He's thinking about those kind of notes from that scale. And once he gets here, it's kind of like, you know, it might as well be diatonic stuff or pentatonic. Right? That's what we have now. Anyway, and he's just descending though. He's playing. Now next it gets even more weird. We've got the 12th fret, 11th fret, 10th fret. Right? So now, I mean, I wouldn't, like, it's ending on a flat 9. And I think this is where basically we're going from our sharp 9, passing through a 9 into a sharp 9, or sorry, a flat 9. Here you could be thinking of this as being like altered scale, where suddenly the scale tone that's a 9 is used as a passing tone, as opposed to like the ordinary world where we have, like, you know, we would maybe play the 9 and we go to the 3rd and we use the sharp 9 as a passing tone. This is kind of the opposite. It's like where all of our notes are so outside, you know, in this world. So many of these outside notes that suddenly the inside notes are used in a passing manner. In this case, the 9. You know, so that's one way to look at it. But let's look at this in combination with what follows, and then I kind of have a theory on it. So he goes from 12, 11, 10. Next string is just going to be 11, 10. And then 13, 12 on the A string, which is then where he's basically going to an A7 chord. It's going like E, like 5 of A7, 5 of 5. And this scale, this whole lick goes. Those are the notes. Rhythmically, it's all like 30-second notes, but it's just like, there is one little thing in there. It's like a triplet that happens at the last, but it's so fast, like 30-second note triplets. Like, I'm not sure what you would count on that. But what I think is that when he played this, he thought, okay, well, first of all, he probably wasn't thinking because he was just playing, and but what I mean is, like, the thoughts that he internalized over the course of time that made a lick like this happen, I think is essentially like this, how I would break down the lick. Dominant diminished, and then just diatonic, I'm thinking pentatonic with the 4 added. And then here, it's like, just whatever happens, gotta get to my A. To me, I see like the A as the deadline. It's like, we're passing through these things, and I see an A in the future, and then anything goes. Just, you know, he could have done this. It wouldn't have been any worse or better. If he did, that would have been more inside, right? Because here we would have had the 9, the flat 9, and the root, and yeah, and that would have been fine. But he started chromatic earlier. Like, we're going from the 3rd of the E to the flat 3rd. So in a sense, actually, from here, it's like, it's just, right? And doing it that way instead of this, makes it a little easier to play in a sense, because we're shifting over to get to our A, you know? Anyway, so that's the lick there. Basically, the most important concept is the idea that you can just take a break to do a little lick at any time. I mean, maybe not between this part where it's like, because that part is moving and there's all stuff, you don't want to interrupt it. But at the end of a phrase like this, where you just made a big splash, now you kind of like stew in the moment by, you know, a little lick. Yeah, really strange. That's the weirdest part. I put the triplet on that, but I think his triplet is on like that. Anyway, legato also. But yeah, and then after that break, it just goes back to all of the other kind of ideas, except the melody goes on. You know, we got this. And with it, he does this, adds the 9 in, so it's like a little chromatic. And then he adds chords to it, so like E minor, this one, E minor. And then when we got this part, he uses A7, like this. But you see the highest note in the melody is a sharp 9, right? It's funny because A minor, he just did E minor, and this whole thing is based around C major. He could have done A minor, right? Like if I was doing it, my first thought would be, okay,